What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be covering all the new decks, I would say. Pretty close. There's going to be a few of them with BT 2.0 that there's going to be hit or misses and missing pieces. So without further ado, let's get into the video, shall we? So first off, we have none other than Red Hybrid, focusing on the new Digimon Emperor. So when, well, Digimon Emperor, Emperor Greymon. So when Digivolving for each color in this Digievolution card, trash one Digievolution of one of your opponent's Digimon, suspend one of theirs, and that this Digimon may attack, allowing you to produce attack powers that is really good. And then your turn, when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, gain security attack 1 for the turn, unsuspend it. So if you can get 2 attacks in is really nice, and some extra damage, always helpful. Because of how the color dynamic works, you can actually get into Hexablow as well, because you can just Digi evolution kind of in weird janky ways and have a little bit of extra oomph, especially when you use like Horomon, the Flamemon lines. They all can Digivolve on red, leading into a very interesting 3-color deck that actually works consistently well, with especially with the Takuya and Koji being your new mem setter. It is a 5 cost, but start a main, you may place 1 card with hybrid in its traits with a different name from your trash as this Digimon Tamer's bottom card. For each of your other Tamers, increase the number of cards with this effect's places by 2. So this thing can really turbo in, especially if you can get this going pretty quickly. They can reset and get you really well into your Emperor Greymons. And, you know, we do have Susanomon Ace being a counter blast, you know, Digievolution. Its requirement to Digivolve on top of your Tamers for its Blast Ace is what Digivolving on a Takuya / Koji with 10 hybrid trait cards under it. So this is where it kind of just turbos itself to get into Susanomon Ace. So it has a when Digivolving, when attacking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 10,000 DP or less. And then for each color in this Digievolution, add 2,000 DP for the DP maximum effects. So you can remove a good threat target with this Blast Ace. And then it has a when attacking by placing up to 5 Tamers from this Digievolution card as a your bottom security cards. Trash your opponent's top security card for each card placed by this effect. So this can get you some nice lethal, and it's a very powerful secret. It's definitely worth its 1-of tech, right? Then we do have Blue Hybrid. This was the closest one I could find for a similar Susano style. There is multiple ways of playing Blue Hybrid, and it shows. But this was just the one that you can go with Koji and do a very similar strat where you're not focusing heavily on Susanomon Ace, doing your whole shenanigans. You kind of use the jamming effects and you kind of go into the old BT7 Magna Garurumon. So, you know, being able to return one of your Digievolutions with hybrid in this Digievolution cards to your hand, turn one of your opponents with the same level as that card to its owner's hand, trash the Digievolution of that Digimon. You know, that old friendly reminder text. And then your turn, when your hand is increased by an effect, unsuspend one of your Digimon, allowing you to attack multiple times is really good. I mean, it's a very similar song and dance. You're going to be swinging with jamming, just apply pressure, you know, hybrid shenanigans that you kind of just expect. And then we did get Dominion support in the form of Shadow Sarafan Ace. So now you can kind of have a couple ways of acing, and it's going to really make your opponent have a bad day. So it's countered Blast Digivolution. It is a blocker. On play, when Digivolving, Digivolve 3 of one of your opponent's Digimon. This becomes really scary for a lot of players because this thing can just ruin your whole turn because of the fact that it Blast Ace, and then you can proceed to block the attack afterwards because now it's little itty bitty. You're gonna just win that fight. Then all turns when attack target is changed, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5,000 DP. This is one of the few aces that you have to respect heavily in the format because of how it interacts. So keeping this in mind when you are dealing with this deck, you're going to have to be playing really well, because a Sarafan can easily lead into Shadow Sarafan, or even a level 5 can do that for that matter. So watch out for when this deck is live. Digimon, you know what it kind of does. It's basically synergizes with itself with using its pieces from its security to play them for free. And that's kind of where you want to be, right? Right. So, yeah, next one we're going to talk about is Knightmon. Knightmon is now fully realized, and it's going to be competitively right out the gate, because the fact that this is one of the few decks that we're going to be discussing that got its full support within 2.0. So this has the BT19 support in it as well, and this is what makes it really scary. Is like Knightmon X antibody, because of its rate and blocker when digivolving when attacking. If Knightmon or X antibodies digivolutions by trashing the top card of security star stack, trash your opponent's top security stack, and this Digimon gets plus 6,000 DP until the end of opponent's turn, and then your turn, end of your turn, basically you have 2 or fewer, recovery 1. So with the rate and blocker, he's going to apply a lot of damage and pressure. Then you have access like Knightmon here that basically gives him a boost. And then when this Digimon would lead the barrier, if you have 2 or fewer, recovery 1. We do also can tech in BT6, Knightmon taking advantage of how this plays out as well. You may trash the top card of your security stack to reveal the top 6 cards of your deck. Add 2 level 6 or lower Digimon among them to your hand. Trash the remaining cards, and then all turns when a card is removed from your security stack, if you're at 3 or fewer, trigger recovery 1. Knightmon just combos really nice. And then you have Knightmon Ace as well. It has raid and it's a blast ace. And on play, when digivolving when attacking, trash the top card of your security stack. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP for the turn. And then all turns, if you have three or fewer, this Digimon gains blocker and plus 4,000 DP. So yeah, he's always a big body boy. So looking at it, they also have a very good option that is Dragon's Roar, because by trashing the top security stack, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 DP until the end of their turn, and if you have 2 or fewer security cards, place this card as the bottom security card. So this deck wants to hold on to 3, and that's where it's going to be. Just keep a friendly reminder that you're putting yourself at a very danger zone. This is, no lie, very risky play with a high risk, high reward kind of strat. So yeah, I don't believe that at the end of the day we're gonna see Knightmon not do some crazy shenanigans. I expect him to do more better in the local level than actually in a high range level, but you guys can easily prove me wrong by putting my foot in my mouth, you know. Then we do have Royal Base. Royal Base is another deck that got its full support in the set. So now the deck centralizes on the theme of being able to put your bases into your security. So with the effects that they kind of just have anytime all your Royal Bases traits, Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP. Then the other one is all your Royal Base traits gets blocker. So as long as you have these live, your opponent is now dealing with boosted threats that are getting bigger because your security just keeps growing because the power of Queen Beemon. So when attacking, you may place 1 Royal Base traits Digimon from your face-up security stack with a play cost reduced by 8. But all turns, when any of your Royal Base traits Digimon would leave the barrier other than in battle, you may place those cards face-up as a bottom security card. So you'll be constantly recovering with the Queen Base. She is basically the Queen Bee. We know how this works. She's protecting the hive, which is going to be in your security. So with all these added benefits, you're going to apply a lot of pressure to your opponent, right? Right. So take advantage of all this. And I like that some lists are playing Ginrumon. So on play, when digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. If a tamer with Digipolice trait is in this Digimon's Digi-Evolution cards, that Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of the turn. You're not going to get the Digipolice ever. But the fact that you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon means you can swing into their threats very easily. So that's why they're also a full X antibody deck. So Protoform becomes your best friend in this situation, being able to climb up a little bit easier in some circumstances is going to help you out a lot, especially with Protoform being another way of putting your life back in. So your opponent has to deal with a lot of pain in the rears. And we also play Coda because revealing the top 4 cards, add 1 card with X antibody traits among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Your whole deck is X antibodies now. You're going to hit something, which is really good. And that's what you want to do. And then you have Winrar here that is basically your mem setter. Not a mem setter, it's just a gainer. But by suspending this tamer, one of your Digimon may digivolve into a Digimon in your face-up security stacks. If the effect digivolve and you place 1 card with royal base traits from your hand face-up as a bottom security stack. This is pretty cool, just being able to access all your pieces like that. And then we're getting into purple territory. I was supposed to have this be the next one here. But before we get into purple, we're going to talk about, Galacticmon. Galacticmon got 3 new cards. A new Venmon that says on play, reveal top 3 cards among them. 1 card with Venmon and its text to your hand. Place 1 Venmon as a bottom Digivolution of one of your Digimon. Return the rest of the bottom deck. Really solid searcher. And then you got the new Snatchmon that basically says, while there's no other Digimon than Venmon, cards from your trash may be placed for this Digi-Cross. So now we have a second Digi-Cross target, which is really nice. And then when Digivolving, you may place up to 2 Venmon from your trash as a bottom Digi-Evolution card. End of your turn, if this Digimon has 4 or more Digi-Evolutions, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon with Venmon in its text in your hand. So this combo is really nice with the Destros, or you get into Galacticmon and just set up a little bit earlier, because as long as you meet the conviction of the Snatchmon, having enough Venmons underneath it, I mean, you're going to give your opponent a lot of memory, but sometimes just getting that early Galacticmon could just ruin their day. But all in all, really solid list though. And if you know how this deck works, and let's talk about Zenith. He is your not mem setter, by the way. Trash 1 Venmon from your hand, draw a card, gain a memory. So this is similar to Analog Man. And this thing is when any of your Digimon attacks by suspending this tamer, return 2 Venmon from that Digi-Evolution card to the bottom of the deck. Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Not a bad way of manipulating the stack. Hopefully Zenith has a lot more value coming in to BT21. Then we get into what is known as Black Hybrid. So yeah, this set is definitely hybrid centric, but this one is what people are going to complain to Kingdom Come about. Mother D Reaper being able to then have a whole plethora of taunt targets, and the fact that you can use your, guess what, best friends of the good of Sasuke and Shu being able to come out from their D-Mind Link shenanigans and always having yourself a tamer ready for your opponent to have to watch you hybrid evolve is what makes this deck extremely scary. Your opponent just can't sometimes handle it, and then you have a bunch of taunt targets while Mother is active with Shoto, and then basically they're just not going to have a way of cleaning up because all your aces are going to deal with most of their board anyway. So just keep this in mind when your opponent is complaining. This deck is just bloody annoying because of the taunt effects. So if you can bounce your stuff and get it off the board, you're in a better spot. Then we get into the Purple Hybrid. So Purple Hybrid is a very interesting list going in as well. They use like Mervamon as another top end shenanigans to do some stuff, because you're going to be using like Valgramon to be able to mill your opponent, and then you kind of loop it in a way that's not a true loop, but you can do some crazy shenanigans where you can mill your opponent in a more fair Apocalypse style. So being able to have Dustmon be able to change their evolutions is very vital, because then it screws up evolution lines. So just knowing that what your opponent is playing for colors, you could just have them have a bad day and be able to not evolve that stack for a turn, or even on top of the tamer, or use options depending on the board circumstances. So just keep this in mind, especially because changing a tamer can lead to being a very bad spot for some players. So taking a look at it, very stock standard list. The deck plays extremely well, being able to take advantage of cards like Jack Ray, Deathslinger, and Rival's Barrage to be able to cycle pieces back. You know, Matty Shida being able to cycle back your options that get milled. It all leads into a cultivated pile that your opponent just has to deal with. Then we do have Dark Knightmon. Well, with the Lord Knightmon Ace, it kind of now gains some mighty versatile pieces here. So being able to, you may play a level 5 or lower with Knightmon and its text from your hand or trash without paying its cost, now leads into your Digicross Dark Knightmon. This one, especially the new one, being able to de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. If you Digicross with 2 cards, you may delete a Digimon or Tamer with a play cost 3 or less, and then you may play one Knightmon from in its text from any of your Tamers without paying its cost. So this de-digivolves, and so does this. So being able to have your opponent have to answer these, it now gave Dark Knightmon the answer it kind of needed for a while, and that was interaction on your opponent's turn, because a lot of the times all you would do is slam down Dark Knightmon and you're going to watch your opponent just kick your teeth in. Why did that happen? Well, because you slam down Dark Knightmon and you're like, what am I doing here? Twiddling the thumbs, because none of your characters had rush, similar to how the rest of the, you know, Crossheart, Blue Flare kind of gained some sort of rush ability that would be more beneficial. So basically, if your opponent could answer your Dark Knightmon, you were basically screwed, because you would get a level 4, that's fine, but your opponent's just going to answer you anyway. So keeping this in mind, this is what we kind of work with the purple stuff. I mean, with Dark Knightmon being your center focus, this is a very solid list to get you started building, where you can tweak afterwards. And then we kind of get into Millennium Man. I know you guys have been waiting to see a list on this one for a hot second, but the fact that you really lost out on Shademon, if I remember, that's the word we're looking for, Shademon. Shademon. I think it's Shademon. So since we don't have access to this card, the Shademon, we kind of have a real little conundrum that I would say when it comes down to deck building, because now you don't get to utilize Nene with the Shademon, but you know what? Let's let the water under the bridge. The main focus of this deck is basically getting your Machine Dramon to be able to Jogress with your Chimera and lead into Millennium Man here, or you can Digivolve up naturally and use Moon Millennium Man, and then you kind of have Wicked God Descents. So when your opponent finally removes your Moon, you can get Z'd out, and your opponent just has a bad day. And what you're trying to do is turbo into Analog Youth to be able to set it up with your stack, being able to then Digivolve up, get the Chimera to Jogress. If I remember correctly, this is the one that does it from the graveyard. So on play, when Digivolve and de-Digivolve all your opponent's Digimon, deletion one of your Chimeras in play, and one Machine Dramon in your trash may DNA Digivolve into Millennium Man. So basically what you'll do is deal with your opponent's threats, and then use this Chimeramon, delete one of them to Jogress instantly into this Millennium Man as an option, or you can just go the normal Digievolution route and get it to Moon. This deck is heavily focused on level 7, so you're really going to be in some cloggy situations. This is why Analog Youth is going to benefit you more, because you want to be able to Jogress as soon as possible. Then we do have Purple Lord Knightmon. This deck has started gaining traction on the Japanese side after, what's his name, the one that topped with the purple based Darugamon. This deck is showing itself in its teeth. Being able to also tech in a Z Millennium Man is a great thing, because guess what, you get to delete a token, Lady Devimon X creates a token, and basically Z Millennium Man can then apply pressure that way. So being able to watch your opponent struggle against this deck is going to be very interesting. This thing is basically Leviamon's strats in the back, but now they kind of just went over and just said, you know what, we're just going to use what you do in Levia, and we're just going to give it to our Lord Knightmon instead. So with Lord Knightmon X, you kind of gain the ability of collision and piercing, and all turns, if Lord Knightmon or X anybody is in this Digivolution cards, all your Digimon with Knightmon as text gain Alliance and plus 3000 AP. So this basically became the better version of what we were playing with Purple Dexteruga. So now you have a guy that's, you don't need a tamer to find. You gain Alliance naturally, it has collision naturally, and it has the piercing, which, oh my goodness, is a word that we needed for a while. So definitely looking good here. Then we do have Lucemon. I know you guys have been trying to figure out how to build Lucemon. Lucemon is just in a really clunky spot right now, and there's nothing really we can do much about it. It's just because of how the deck plays in its own right. You know, it's got a new support across the board and you're going to use it, but you also have access to like Lucemon X, who is a brand new card that is in 19 that we're getting early. So all turns when this Digimon would leave the battle area, if you have a card with Lucemon in its name in its Digivolution cards, by trashing both players' top secure card, it doesn't leave. So great protection. End of turn, your opponent may trash the top security card. If the effect didn't trash, recovery 1 and then delete one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. So Lucemon's just doing what Lucemon wants to do, and it proves it with just holding back straight, guys, of what is it, Jestimon X Antibody, Jestimon. So being able to do that is really good. And then we are playing Larva because we don't have access to Nene, which is what this deck really wants to be using, is the secret Nene. But we're going to use it as a combination of being able to use Satanic Satan mode plus Lucemon Larva. So you just get your full shebang. The Ukumons are going to just help you search for your pieces and get going. And then, you know, this big option that it is, the 7th Divine Crush, is really powerful. Trash when any of your Digimon digivolve into Lucemon X. By returning this card to the bottom deck, your opponent may trash the top card of your stack. If the effect didn't trash, recovery 1. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon until they have as many as the number of your security. The effect deleted, then recovery 1. Being able to answer with the 7th Divine Crush is really ridiculous, and having like Biting Crush with Leviamon as another backup is great. You are playing 7 Great Demon Lords in a sense. You're gonna have your Demon Lords active, so Biting Crush is gonna be always live, and just having Leviamon being able to answer threats is really good at the end of the day. So I think this is pretty much a good enough list for you guys to start testing, but you let me know. And then finally, I feel bad because this girl, Rigumon. So this pretty fusion of Kyogre and Milotic and like 8 different other fusions of a Pokemon has a great ability, but the fact that its own deck is still missing pieces be able to be viable, I think that's the biggest problem. You could do something with aquatic type or something, but at the end of the day, the decode is really good. When this Digimon will leave the battle area, other than in battle, you may play 1 blue level 5 Digimon from this Digivolution card without paying its cost. If your opponent's going to answer threat very easily, you now have a great way. 8 of your targets are now instantly viable to now play out your level 5. And imagine playing out Cressamon, and then your opponent's just like, oh, now I can't do anything with my extra Digimon. Well, yeah, that can shut down your opponent's turn. Then when Digivolving, you may play 1 blue level 4 or lower Digimon from this Digivolution card without paying its cost. And of a turn, you know, you're going to be, by returning 1 of your Digimon to the bottom of the deck, return 1 of your opponent's Digimon as high or lower as the return Digimon to the bottom of the deck. Really useful. I think this has a great legs. I love that the blue base is starting to show up more and more and be like the greatest top end for the Galaxy deck. And at the end of the day, it's really good. I think we have a very confident way of saying that Galaxy players like me, it is our time to shine, and we're gonna shine brightly. But I think that's always good that our lists this is pretty much the whole list that I'm going to give for right now. I think this is a really good one. Let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.